Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Blauheim here, and this is, I guess, the first actual video on my channel, where I talk about retro games in a semi-serious setting. I wanted to talk about the Atari 2600 games that I have in my collection. Now, this isn't all of them, but this is like 95% of them. So, let's get going. Okay, first of all, let's start with the classic. Pitfall on the 2600, one of the first true platformers, and one that set the stage for platformers in the future. This game was released in 1982 by Activision, programmed by David Patrick Crane. It's comprised of 255 screens, and yeah, the object of the game is to get as much treasure as you can get in 20 minutes, I guess. Great game. And of course you have to avoid obstacles like crocodiles, or you can actually use like crocodiles. You have to swing the rope, you have to swing from the rope, etc. Yeah, pretty good game, right? Okay. What next? Well, we got Turmoil on the 2600. This is a little bit of an underrated game. This is a fixed shooter, but as most fixed shooters, you know, it's usually your characters at the bottom, your ship, and then you have a bunch of things coming down from the top. This is a little different. Things are coming in from the left and right, and the action gets very frantic very quickly. This is an extremely fun title. I highly recommend it. And now we got Berserk. This is probably the game that I play the most on the 2600. I mean, you go from screen to screen, shooting robots in a maze, and if you spend too long on a screen, then a smiley face comes out of nowhere and kills you, you know? Pretty fun. Whatever, right? Now we got Fast Food. This is kind of a weird title on the 2600. Fast Food, the object of the game is basically that you're a disembodied mouth, as you can see on the cover, and you have to eat as much as you can. However, the food gets faster and faster as you progress. However, you have to avoid the purple pickles. If you eat too many of the purple pickles, you get a game over. I think you have to stop yourself from eating 7 of them. Okay, that's pretty cool. Frostbite right here. This is perhaps one of the games that people consider to be a masterpiece on the Atari 2600. Mainly, if you think about Q*bert, this is a little similar to that. You have to jump from, there's a bunch of like icebergs. I mean, they're square, so I don't think they're icebergs, but you have to jump from one to the other to build an igloo. The more you have to jump from one to the other to build an igloo, avoid obstacles, and you have to build your igloo before it gets too warm, or else you'll get a game over. Pretty fun. This is Donkey Kong on the 2600 by Coleco. Yes, this is a very gimped port. The gameplay is perfectly fine. The graphics are fine. However, I say gimped because not every stage is here. Sadly, not every single stage in the original arcade was here. According to Guru Larry, who I suppose is most well known for designing the box art to Activision's 2002 game Oni, mentioned that this was an intentional choice by Coleco to make the ColecoVision port look way better than the Atari port. You know, but yeah, it's a fun game. It still is fun even if it is gimped. The gameplay is all there and the graphics are not bad at all either. So yeah. Now, let's get back to the topic of fixed shooters. Now, this is Mega Mania. You may not be able to read this because of the ACTA plaque, as it's called, but as you can see, I can prove it to you, see? It says it right there, Mega Mania. This is another fixed shooter, and you have an energy meter that you're supposed to conserve, and the shooting action, I think, is much more frantic than other fixed shooters like Galaxian or Space Invaders. The enemies move a whole lot, you know, and really, you know, it's pretty good. It's a fixed shooter though. There's much to say about it. Space Invaders. Of course, like this game needs no introduction, man. This game is quite literally a classic in every definition. Released by Taito in 1978 and on the Atari in 1980. This is Space Invaders. It's the game where you have a bunch of aliens that are in a formation, and you have to shoot all of them before they come down all the way. And if they do, then the game's over. Or they could also shoot you, and if you do, you lose a life. Yeah, pretty good. Star Voyager. I played this one a little bit. This one actually came with my 2600 when I bought it. I gave it a try. It's very much, it very much is very ambitious for the time. It has a first-person perspective, but I think it was a little too ambitious. I didn't have a lot of fun with this one. Okay, Kaboom. This is a paddle game, and another one by Activision. I mean, back in the 80s, Activision was just putting out banger after banger after banger, right? It really was, you couldn't go wrong with most of their games, most of their selection, I guess. And the object of the game is there's a bunch of bombs falling and you have to catch them. And if you miss one bomb, they all explode and you lose a life, you know? Very simple. And it gets faster and faster. But yeah, this is a great game. Definitely Phoenix. Now this was, what can I say about Phoenix? It's a fixed shooter, right? And probably one of the most fun on the 2600. But it doesn't really do too much different from like Galaxian or other games of the nature. It's not, and really it's just a fun fixed shooter. There isn't much to say about it other than that. I mean, it's just fun, right? Yeah. Okay. So we got Dig Dug right here. Let me flip it over. Dig Dug. Yeah. Everyone knows this game. It's a classic Namco arcade game, the one that involves you being a digger, and you inflate enemies and kill them. Yeah. I mean, you dig in and then you inflate enemies and kill them. Yeah. Now we got Crystal Castles. This game was also ambitious for its time. You play as a bear. I'd say that the cover art is a little bit weird, but it's like an isometric Pac-Man. You have to collect all the pellets in the level and avoid the enemies. But I'm not a big fan of the isometric perspective on this. I mean, it very much is difficult to line your character up to, you know, eat the pellets, right? But, yeah, whatever. Yar's Revenge. Ooh. Now, this one's a classic. This is a really weird shooter in terms of what it is. You basically play as this mutated fly, and you have to chip away at the barrier of your enemy that's constantly moving up and down. And if you chip away at it, when you chip away at it, or when you touch the enemy, you have to make it clear enough so that your cannon, that could be activated when you run over the enemy or chip away at the barrier, could have a clear way to hit them, and then you win the round. This game is fun. I love it. I mean, I would say that this is probably one of my favorite games on the 2600. It's extreme fun. Okay, this is Solar Storm. Paddle. It's a paddle-based fixed shooter. You don't have too many of these. I mean, usually they use the joystick, but this time they use the paddle. There isn't really much to say about it other than that. I mean, it's just your classic old fixed shooter. Another one by Imagic or iMagic. We got Demon Attack here. Now this is another fixed shooter, and this one is, I would say, much harder than Phoenix or Space Invaders or Galaxy. This game is pretty damn tough, I would think. But it really is fun. I recommend it. But, you know, when it comes to fixed shooters, there isn't much to say, really. Okay, what do we have here? Miss Pac-Man. Ooh, I love this port, man. Whenever I'm in a Pac-Man kind of mood, I just feel like playing some Pac-Man. This game is what I choose. The original Pac-Man on the 2600 was definitely really weak. I mean, the port just wasn't that good. but this game really does improve on it in many different ways. Not only is the gameplay really solid, but there's multiple different mazes to explore. And every two, you have to play through the maze twice, and then you get to another maze. It's pretty good. I like it. But you know Pac-Man, I mean, you eat all the pellets, avoid the ghosts. Combat. Yeah, this is a classic from 1977. This was one of Atari's launch titles. I wish I had friends to play this with, but no one really cares about Atari games. No one around me at least cares about Atari games. I don't really have any friends, but that's besides the point. You basically play as either a tank or a plane, and you basically shoot at your opponent, fight your opponent. There isn't much to say about it than that. But there are a certain interesting twist to the whole thing. For example, you have what is called tank bomb, which basically it's basically two tanks fighting each other, of course, and you have to shoot at your opponent, but the bullets bounce off of the walls, and you can do a kind of a ricochet motion with all that. Now this is a real classic, River Raid, one of my favorite Atari games. I would personally put it in my top 5. Now, this is a very interesting, it's not a fixed shooter, it's actually a scrolling shooter, which is already somewhat ambitious for the Atari. But on top of that, there's some interesting mechanics, right? So it's a scrolling shooter where you can speed up and slow down, and it has a fuel mechanic, which basically means that you have to constantly be watching out for your fuel meter, and if it depletes, then you die. But fuel pickups are always there, and you have the choice of either picking them up or shooting them for points. Of course, there is no ending to this. It's just racking up the points, and the game gets harder and harder, and you basically play as a plane. It's not a space shooter. It's just a war kind of shooter. You play as a plane and you shoot things. Yeah. Through a river. Okay. So asteroids. No introduction needed, but I will give one anyway. This is an old... Wait, what was I going to say? This is a game where there's a bunch of asteroids and you have to shoot at them, and your ship has a really interesting momentum thing. It's not a fixed shooter. You move around and things of that nature. I would say it's pretty fun. I'd definitely recommend picking this one up, but everyone knows it. This is Chopper Command. This is very close to Defender. There isn't really much to say about it. You're a helicopter, and you kind of move from left to right and destroy things. I guess. Yeah, move left and right. And Joust. Okay, so this is a pretty interesting game. You basically play as an ostrich, and then you have to jump on things, and you turn them into eggs and you eat them. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So I guess that's it for now. Those are all the Atari games that I currently own. Well, not all of them, but about 95% of them, as I said. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day. Outside Congrou.